Yeah, look, after 70 years, 70 Baba
Okay, I think we can begin. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen of the press, honorable members of the caucus. We are here for a very important function, very important press conference. I'm going to read and you will follow with me. Press statement on the violation of the RRCs by the SPLM-IG and its allies in the passing of the National Election Act 2012 Amendment Bill 2023. In the ordinary sitting number 25, 2023, dated Monday, September 18th, 2023, the TNLA deliberated on the report of the specialized committee on the National Election Act 2012 Amendment Bill 2023 in its third and final reading stage, where some members of the August House, particularly from the SPLM-IG and its allies, decided to introduce a new section in the bill seeking to empower the President of the Republic of South Sudan to appoint, after elections, an additional number of members of parliament. The decision by the SPLM-IG and allies is contrary to the provision of the revitalized agreement, Article 1.2.13, which states that the National Election Commission shall conduct free, fair, and credible elections before the end of the transitional period and shall ensure the outcome reflects the will of the electorates. This should be read together with Article 1.20.5 of the agreement. In light of the above, the SPLM-IO Parliamentary Caucus would like to state the following. 1. Condemns in the strongest terms possible attempts by the SPLM-IG and its allies to make the process and the conduct of the national elections in South Sudan undemocratic, unfair, and not credible. 2. The proposal that the President be given extra powers to appoint additional number of the members of Parliament takes away the mandate and sovereignty of the people of the Republic of South Sudan to choose their leaders. Article 2 of the Transitional Constitution of the Republic of South Sudan 2011 as amended. 3. We are concerned of the unfair procedure and the manner the Right Honorable Speaker Jemanunu Kumba conducted the sitting by not maintaining the order and decorum of the House to balance participation in the deliberation by the members of the August House by denying members of SPLM-IO and other political parties fair chance to express their views on this critical matter. Moreover, the Right Honorable Speaker decided to proceed without consensus and decided to usher the House into voting despite the lack of consensus on this very important matter. It is important, number 4, to note that the National Election Act 2012 Amendment Bill 2023 is one of the critical bills reviewed and amended by the NCAC pursuant to the agreement as provided for in Article 1.18.7, which requires that the TNLA shall ratify the bills coming from the NCAC. 5. In light of the above violations, the SPLM-IO Parliamentary Caucus condemns in no uncertain terms the continuous violation of the agreement and disregard of the advice of the two principals, relevant peace implementation mechanism, the RJMEC, and the NCAC. We call upon the principals to the agreement, the RJMEC, and the grantors to intervene and resolve this matter as soon as possible. 7. And lastly, we further urge the TNLA and the parties therein to adhere to the provision of the agreement, Article 1.14.8, which states that the reconstituted TNLA shall, in the conduct of its business, support this agreement and enact legislations that enables and assists the transitional processes and reforms described in this agreement. Signed by myself, Deputy Chairman of the SPLM-IO, and the First Deputy Speaker of the TNLA. Thank you very much for your audience. Any question, I can attend to you. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable. I'm Charles Walter from iRadio. Sorry, I'm Charles Walter from iRadio.
Yes.
I have only one follow-up question. So you are issuing this statement when the bill has already been passed, and this is not the first time for you to, walk out of the parliament during the session. How impact is your statement on the already passed bill?
First of all, we are raising awareness that what is going on in the parliament, in the August House, is an unfair process. The SPLM-IG is trying to use its mechanical majority, contrary to the spirit and the text of the agreement. We are pointing out to the world and to the public so that they are aware. Last time we had, yes, similar protest, which invoked the powers of the principals. The principals met and they wrote to us in the parliament and they said, in the conduct of your business, you must proceed with consensus. We feel in this very situation, the advice was not heeded by the SPLM-IG. They decided to proceed without consensus, knowing very well that the matters of elections in the Republic of South Sudan, and particularly in the peace process, is a very critical matter which requires the consensus of all the political parties. So what we are raising is in place, and we are calling for the principals once again to intervene to resolve this matter. We cannot allow a democratic process in South Sudan to be hijacked. We don't want anybody to appoint additional members of the parliament. It is the people of South Sudan who will elect their leaders to the August House, not any other person appointing members to the parliament.
Are you going to continue with parliamentary sittings until the principal agree, or you are going to bypass?
We'll proceed. We'll continue with normal business of parliament. We have no any issue. We only raise objection and protest on this particular bill and its procedures.
Okay,
Yes,
well,
please.
okay, my question is, what if they, since it has been passed, what if they refuse to revive it?
If they refuse to revive it, one, it will be in the record. Should elections not go as planned, should election not be free and fair in this country, then the culprits will be known. The culprits will be known. If they decide to proceed, will not hesitate to knock on the doors of the grantors and the RJMEC to ensure that the agreement is implemented smoothly and in its spirit and its text. Yes, please.
أنا سوزان قبل المسافة بالوطن. هل هناك تأثير في إعطاء 5% لرئيس المنتخب؟
Does it has an impact? The 5%?
Yes, it has an impact. Should a single person be given powers, especially in the person of the president, to appoint whatever number, obviously it will affect the democratic process. The process will not be free and fair anymore. It will not be democratic. And moreover, people who will be engaged in elections will not care about whether they should respond to the will of the people, since they will come through other means anyway to the parliament. So we cannot allow this process to go on, and it will have impact. You know, elections is not an event, it's a process. You go for elections, you expect the results to be credible. And also after elections, policy matters will be discussed. Now, if somebody will be allowed to appoint unilaterally whoever he wants to be in the parliament, that means even the parliamentarians themselves will not be representing the people anymore. They will be representing the will of the appointing authority. So that policies that will be passed in that house may not be for the people. A case in point is what just happened with the salaries during the budget. The budget was passed even when the civil servants are not happy about it, the members of organized forces are not happy about it. You know? Why? Because there is a party called SPLM-IG that is using mechanical majority in the parliament. And if we allow them to do so, that means even the permanent constitution coming later, during the transitional period and during the roadmap, they can change the text of the permanent constitution. If they can change the text of the work of the NCAC, the National Election Amendment Bill, and any other law, that means even the constitution later they will change the text. There is no guarantee anymore that the text of the permanent constitution will be respected, because they don't respect the agreement anyway. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm Korma Mehabra. I'm with the One Citizen. My question is one. You recently released a document which I read. It contains a lot of tasks that are not implemented, and we seem to be having about 15 months remaining to go for elections. So I would like to know, if these tasks are not implemented, will SPLM-IO be part of the elections?
The tasks that we have highlighted, they are in the agreement. The national election is in the agreement. In fact, the national elections is the last exercise, is the last task under the agreement. We expect the permanent constitution to be in place, the census to be in place, the repatriation and the resettlement of IDPs, the reforms, the security arrangements to be done. How can you hold elections without security arrangements, without census? How will you know the figures? How will you demarcate the boundaries? The election will not proceed under normal terms. And moreover also, the government is the government of national unity, is the government of the peace agreement. Should the parties disagree on the conduct of elections, you will not have elections. The parties must agree on how to conduct elections for you to have an elections in this country. There is no any unilateral decision by any party that will hold elections in this country.
The SPLM-IO says that there are some tasks that are not important for the election. Example is the census. They say there is this data of 2010 that can be used. Again, the repatriation, they say, it's not important because refugees can still, vote where they are. Like in the case of, I think, was it referendum? Yeah. In the case of elections, I think in 2010. So this is what they say. They say some tasks, even the constitution, they say it can be completed by the new government and the new parliament. What can you say about that?
That means they have already abrogated the agreement. If they say tasks that are in the peace agreement are not important, that means the agreement is not important. But what we know, the agreement is important. Whoever says the agreement is not important delegitimizes himself. The agreement is the one that legitimizes all of us, the parties. There is no any elected government in South Sudan. The last elections we had in 2010, it was when we were part of another country, part of the Sudan. Now we had extensions and amendment of our constitutions to extend the terms of government. The last extension of the term of government came by this agreement. Whoever declares it null and void as not important also delegitimizes himself. That means he loses the mandate to hold powers in this country. That's why we want the agreement to be implemented in letter and in spirit, so that we can go and terminate the transitional period by holding free, fair, and credible elections in the Republic of South Sudan. Moreover, what we are now experiencing, there is no fairness here in this country, no political space. SPLM-IO is not given fair ground to do its business. We are not allowed to participate in the 3 administrative areas. We have been discussing with the president, with the SPLM, but they have denied participation and the power sharing in the 3 administrative areas. That means should we go for elections, we are not going to contest. Under this condition now, should we go for elections under the prevailing circumstance, that means we are not contesting in the 3 administrative areas. What does it mean? No fairness, no credibility for elections, and so on. Our chairman is not free to move. He has never left Juba since he came in 2020. He has never left Juba. He has not visited any state. He has not even gone for treatment outside. It's not because we have not been asking for it. We have been asking for it, only that we don't talk about it in the media. But I think today is the time to talk about it. That he is not free. He is sick in Juba. And he treats himself here inside Juba. There is no fairness. He wanted to go to WOW for a conference organized by the state. He was denied to go and participate in WOW. He wanted to go to West Africa on invitation of one of the governments. He was denied. He was also invited to the current UN General Assembly. He was also denied. He was denied. He could not go. So this is the circumstance under which we operate. We don't talk sometimes about it, but today we are telling you that under this circumstance, and now they have even added insult to injury by saying let the president appoint 5% of the members of parliament. That means South Sudan is still a long way to see democracy. To see democracy in this country is still a long way, unless we implement the peace agreement in letter and in spirit. Journalists?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, my name is Yev Joseph. I work for the City View newspaper. Yeah, Honorable Deputy Chair, we would like to know from you, in case there is blocking of funds, like current situation, what do the agreement say about it? That's one. Two, we would like to know the powers given to the President in the recent bill to appoint maybe some members. What is the specific number of members to be appointed, whether you know it about it?
If there is lack of consensus on pertinent issue like this, there are mechanisms to resolve it. On matters to do with the peace agreement, you cannot put it to a vote. Because if we allow the agreement to be voted on, parties who hold the majority in the agreement can vote the agreement out. We cannot allow that. We can rather use other mechanisms. One, the principles. That's why we are calling for them to intervene. Two, RJMEC. We are calling for RJMEC to come and break the deadlock. Should the principle fail, the grantors, we are also alerting them that the agreement is at risk, especially on matters related to the peace agreement.
I was a point of, let me say, is there a specific number being outlined there to be appointed by the President? A specific number?
They talked of 5%. 5% of the House. That means if the House was like 332, like the one before, that means 16 of them will be appointed by the President. 17 of them will be appointed by the President. The President has free members in the House, and the guarantee that he will appoint from his party is 100%. Yeah, because we are political animals. Yeah. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming. The media, we appreciate your coming always when we call you, and we actually want you to be conducting your business freely. Freedom of press. This is what we stand for. Nobody should be harassed. Anybody harassed will always raise as a point, whether in the House or in our statement. Thank you so much.
SPLM-IO.